I recently made a video making drum sounds using a sequencer and a bandpass filter. This was a simple setup and it was for economy to use the least amount of modules. But today I'd like to expand on that and using a layering technique that was used back in the 70s. This is a schematic of a typical 70s drum machine. The yellow indicates the gate in for the snare sound. The transistor on the right is a resonant circuit for the drum effect. Up above is the noise source in green. That feeds a couple of transistors. The lower transistor is being triggered by the same snare gate. That sound gets amplified, filtered, and then mixed back in with the drum. So I have a noise source. I have a mixer going into a filter that's being used as a bandpass filter, which goes over to a VCA. I'm going to turn the noise source down, and then I want to open the VCA so that we can hear the filter. The noise going into the filter is exciting the filter and the resonance. If you turn the volume of the noise down, hear that ring? That's the filter ringing, but it won't ring by itself unless you turn it up to fully oscillate. So the noise excites that and gets it going. Now we just let that sound be steady state and then we run that through a VCA, and that's where we get our envelope. You can tune that noise, of course. Tuning the resonance controls how much decay or ringing there is in the sound. So we want a pretty high resonance and just tune it to taste. That works there. Leave that on. I'm going to close the VCA and then I'm going to trigger it with the envelope generator. So that's sort of the drum part of the snare drum. Now we need to add the layer of the noise. The noise also goes into the VCA and is being triggered along with the drum sound. Now we get a decent snare. For this demonstration, I added a bass drum to go along with the snare. I'm just running an oscillator, low frequency, into a low pass filter, and I'm gating the filter and the VCA for the kick drum. So I'm going to trigger these with the sequencer. And I'm only going to use gates. We're not using any control voltages. I have a gate on the kick and a gate on the snare. And that's going to sound like this. Now I added a hi-hat by coming out of the clock out and running that over to an extra VCA. And I have a secondary noise source going into that VCA. So it's getting a trigger on every beat. You can adjust the volume separately of the snare and the kick and the hi-hat. This uses more modules, but if you're doing a recording and you want to get a better sound and you're going to do multi-tracks, this will make it sound better. That's the old way. One filter.